Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're well and that you are winning this Thursday. I would firstly like to start by introducing myself. My name is Mandy Olivier. I am a lecturer at the School of Accounting Sciences of Potchefstroom, of the Northwest University in Potchefstroom, and I have the great honor of introducing our speaker to you today. So our speaker today is Mr. Tsepu Kapane. He's not just wearing many hats, he is setting the trend. As the product lead at Wafundo and head of Black Bullion South Africa, Tepu is on a mission to help young people build confident and informed relationships with money. With over a decade of experience in consumer financial education, he has a rare gift of making rands and cents feel relevant, relatable, and even fun. An outstanding communicator and financial consumer educator, Tepu creates impactful financial literacy content that speaks directly to the challenges faced by young people in South Africa. He holds a BCom law degree from WITS and a postgraduate diploma in management. He is currently balancing life as an MBA student, which is a Master of Business Administration student, with working as a podcast host and voiceover artist. Insightful, energetic, and fueled by caffeine, Tepu is all about turning financial confidence into a movement, one young person at a time. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm extremely excited to listen to Mr. Tepu's presentation on bills, thrills, and financial fails, what not to do with your first salary. Without further ado, over to you, Tepu.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mandy, for that lovely introduction. Happy Thursday. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's having a lovely afternoon. I know the moment one talks about money, we get tense. So don't tense up. Don't stress. We're going to have fun during this session. So my name is Tsepo Kapane. I work for an organization called Wafunda. I'm the product lead and I manage a digital financial literacy platform. I'll tell you a bit about it. But more than anything, we're going to talk about that first salary, what not to do with it. And in order to give you good advice, I'm going to tell you about all the mistakes that I did. Right? So there's so much that I'm going to be sharing. So let me quickly pull up my presentation. Mandy, just let me know when it's come up on the screen.
Yes, we can see it, Tepu.
Lovely. So, as I mentioned, it's all about bills, thrills, and financial fails, what not to do with your first salary, right? So, as I mentioned earlier on, I work for a company called Wafunda, and at Wafunda, we've developed this amazing platform called Black Bullion. It's a digital financial literacy platform for young people. It is not a course, guys, but it is a tool that you can access when you want to make a decision about money. You're curious to learn about something. We've actually partnered up with the Northwest University to give every student free access to this tool. So in the coming weeks, we're actually going to be officially launching with the university. But I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek into a little bit of the work that we do. So in the coming weeks, you guys will get access to this tool. It's branded. It's got the NWU logo. For those that are super excited, they want to get access to the tool now. How to save, how to invest, how to read a payslip. We've got all this information that's on the platform. So feel free to scan the QR code. You can register. You can get pre-access to the platform. And of course, have a look at what it all does, right? So let's get into today's session, right? So what's on the menu for today's session? First and foremost, we're going to spill the tea, which means we're going to do a little bit of some gossiping, all right? We're going to talk a bit about mistakes, right? Mistakes that I've made with my first salary. I'm going to share a little bit about myself and tell you a bit about my money story. We'll play a little bit of a money quiz game. We'll talk about what not to do with your first salary and why I think budgeting is the most important thing to do. Then at the end of the session, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So not a lot to get through, but it'll be fun. It'll be engaging. So I want us to spill the tea a little bit, right? And spill the tea means I want us to gossip. So right at the top, you do have a chat functionality. Feel free to go there to type in your answer wherever you can. Just get in there. I'm just keen to know from you guys, and those that are keen to share can type in the chat. others can sort of think about it a bit. If your money could speak, right? If your money had a voice, what would it say about you? So if your money could speak, it had a voice, what would it say about you? Would it say something positive? Would it say something negative? And most importantly, if your money says something negative, what do you need to do so that in future it says something different about you? Right. So let me quickly unshare. I wanna get into the chat. I want to see if one or two people have already shared. Right. If your money could speak, what would it say about you? Right. That's what I want to know from some of you in terms of that. If your money could speak, what would it say about you? Akumo says, thinking once, spending all at once. The money comes in and it goes out. El Siminar says, do you really need that right now? You do, you do, you do. That's what you'd be saying to the money. Yes, I need it. Mandy says, loves buying takeaway coffee too much. You know what? I mentioned earlier on, guys, I've got a caffeine problem. So me and you, Mandy, we've got the same problem, me and you. Mzozo says, you use me recklessly. You need to save. Rebotile says, I am sorry for whatever I did to you. So as I'm reading through these, it seems like a lot of us, if our money could speak, it wouldn't say something positive. So the question remains, what do you need to do in order for your money to say something different about you in the future? It's just something that I want you guys to think a bit about, right, as we go through the session. So one of the questions I often get when I'm invited into a space to talk about money, particularly with young people, is why should I care? Sepa, why should I care about managing my money? You're talking about saving, about investing. It's got nothing to do with me. Why should I care? This is why you should care, right? You guys, some of you have graduated, you're about to graduate. Some of you will get internships. Some of you will immediately start working. Some of you will start a business. And the hard reality of what's going on in the country will shock you. So I just want to share a couple of hard truths. Most South Africans have a very, very toxic relationship with money. Most of us, we don't respect money, right? Why do I say this? Right? So, most people, they spend more than they earn. In fact, there's a really interesting stat that says debt is around 68% of income. In other words, if somebody's earning 10,000 Rand, right? 6,800 goes towards debt, loans, credit cards, clothes. So how are people living, right? If you look at the fact that people don't save, right? So only 0.5% of people actually save their income. In other words, if somebody earns 100 Rand, they are only saving 50 cents of that money, right? So we don't save, right? And then many of us, we rely on credit cards. We don't have a budget. We don't save. We don't invest. So when you do research, a lot of what the research tells us is that most South Africans don't have a good relationship with money. We don't respect money, right? And then this question comes up, why? Why is it? Why is it that we're not saving, we're not investing? Are things too expensive? Is Cyril Ramaphosa's economy just giving us an L? What on earth is going on? And I'm hoping that during the course of this webinar, it'll become a little bit clear why this is happening, right? But before I get into that, I think it's really, really important that I don't come from a place of privilege where I talk as if I know everything about money. I was once a student. I've made lots of mistakes with money. And before I tell you what not to do, I should talk a bit about what I've done that's been wrong. So these are some of the L's, right, that I've had to catch, the money mistakes that I've made with my first salary. I'll be very honest. I'm going to open up to you guys. First and foremost, I flexed too hard too soon. I'm actually going to show you a picture of the first car I ever bought, right? So when I got my first salary, when I was making money, I flexed too hard too soon. And I also allowed emotions to take control of me, right? Emotions were controlling the way in which I spend money. Sometimes I was buying things just to impress people, just to prove a point, right? It wasn't things that I really needed. The other thing is because I didn't have a budget, I didn't have a plan for my money. Guys, there was chaos. Money was coming into my account, it was going out of my account, and then I was waiting for the 25th. I was now counting down. Okay, when is the 25th coming? Right? So I had no budget, I had no plan. right? The other thing is I didn't understand how credit works, right? So when you borrow money, there is interest. You need to pay this money back at some point in time, right? And if you borrow 1,000, you're not paying back 1,000. It's 1,000 in interest. It's a very hard lesson that I needed to learn. The other lesson that I learned with my first salary is when they say you qualify, it doesn't necessarily mean you can afford that thing, right? You have qualified support, but you don't actually afford it. It's a very, very big difference, right? The other thing that I learned when I started to earn a salary is I was struggling to create money barriers with friends and family. So now that people know that I'm working, I'm making a little bit of some money. People wanted to borrow money. Some friends and family were putting pressure because now they had all these expectations, and I struggled to have barriers with family members. The other thing that happened is that I really didn't respect money, guys. I didn't see money as a tool. For me, it was all about I've worked hard, I need to enjoy this money, and then I'll figure out the rest of the month, right? And then last but not least, I realized that I was not intentional with my money. I didn't plan with my money. I didn't think about my money, right? These are some fundamental mistakes that led to other things, right? But these are some of the things that I did with my money. Don't judge. It wasn't good, but it's all right. So we're gonna take a quick break from the webinar, from the seriousness, and we're gonna play a little bit of a game. I'm in the mood to give away 2 Checkers vouchers. Each voucher is valued at $100, so you can go get a little something something from Uncle Tab. So we're gonna play a little bit of a game. So this is how the game works. I've got 2 money questions, right? 2 money questions. The first person to answer the question correctly, I will give them the voucher. Very, very simple. So let's just say the question was, what is the biggest bank in South Africa? The answer is Capitec. If you typed Capitec in the chat and you were the first person to do it correctly, you would win the voucher. This is just an example, right? So 2 questions, money questions, first person to answer it correctly will be the winner, right? So are you guys ready for the first question? Because if people are getting it wrong, I'm going to check us after here to get myself some groceries, right? So 2 vouchers, each voucher valued at $100. I'm going to ask Mandy to get the person's details, the person that wins. They'll just have to share their name, their surname, their email address, and I'll be able to send you through that voucher. So 2 money questions, 2 Checkers vouchers, quickest correct answer wins. Those are the rules. So here is the first question. Who is the current governor of the South African Reserve Bank? Who's the current governor of the South African Reserve Bank? If you know the answer, you got it correct. You're the first person. You might just win yourself some goodies. So let me go back to just see in the chat who's getting it right. Let me see. Let me see. And guys, please name and surname. Don't just add a surname like he's your friend. No, it's not your friend. It's a very serious man. So the first person that got it correctly is Tabang Serero saying Lisecha Khanyago. That's absolutely correct. That is the governor of the Reserve Bank. Please do share your email address with us, your details as well. We'll definitely be giving you that voucher. So that person's got it correctly. Absolutely. That is the governor of the Reserve Bank. And I don't know if you've ever seen Lisecha. He's always shouting, guys. He's always shouting, the interest rate has been. He's an absolutely weird man. But shout out to that person. Let's get into our second question. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, and it's this. What does TFSA stand for? TFSA. It's got to do with saving. What does TFSA stand for? First person to get it correctly in the chat, I will give you that 100 Checkers voucher and you can get yourself a little bit of some goodies. So let me get straight back into the chat. Let me see who's the first person to get it correctly, right? Let me see. I'm not seeing anything yet. People are saying it's a difficult one. Where is it? Let's see. So the first person to get it correctly, it's just got a number. So I'm not sure who this person is. The number is 558. I seem to have lost that number. I'll tell you the number now. Give me a second. The number
I'm in a
is
meeting.
8049. Guys, please remember to mute yourselves. We've got some winners here for vouchers. Mandy, did you get that person? 558049993. I don't know who that is. Shout out to you for
I
winning.
believe it's the student number. I'll get them, Tepu. Don't worry.
Shout out to the student right there for winning. So there will be more opportunities for goodies. Uncle Tefo has got you covered. Don't worry. So it is the tax-free savings account. Absolutely correct by that student. So let's get on with the webinar. We're going to talk about what to do with your first salary. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my story. How and where and why did I make all of these mistakes? So in 2010, I was a student at WITS and I was doing my BCom law. And I was always a positive student. I was always busy. I was always hustling. I was always doing things. So I was a club DJ. So when I was in high school, I learned to be a DJ. So when I got to university, I was a DJ at different clubs. I was also doing club events. So because I lived in Bramfontein, I'd always be doing club events. I was also a promoter as well, worked for an agency. So not this influencer stuff that you young people are doing now. I'd be the guy that's at Checkers advertising the new Colgate. That's the promotions that I used to do. So in university, I was always a hustler. I was always active. I was always busy. I was always chasing money. And a friend of mine said to me, Tepo, you know, you've got this beautiful voice. You've got such a great personality. One day you should do radio or TV. And I was like, look, if the opportunity ever comes, I'll do it. And a month later, WITS University decided to launch a radio station called Voice of WITS FM. And they were looking for students to come and become volunteers, to work on the radio station. You become a volunteer, you don't really get paid, but we'll teach you how to be a radio personality, how to do a radio show, and so forth. So I joined VOW FM, it was great. And about a year later, a commercial radio station called YFM reached out to me. And YFM said to me, Tepo, we know you're a second-year student at WITS. We would love to give you a radio show. You would have a radio show that's on a Saturday and a Sunday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. so it doesn't clash with school. And you get all these opportunities to do other things. Yo, guys, I was so excited. I took that opportunity with both hands. So I was a YFM DJ, starting to grow in popularity, and I was still a student at the same time. And I'd work on a Saturday, I'd work on a Sunday, and I'd work for 3 hours each day. And I was getting 8,000 Rand a month. Guys, imagine as a student, a second year student, 8,000 Rand a month. I lost my mind. I was so excited. And then about 3 months later, MTV Base and Soweto TV reached out to me and they said, Tepo, we know you were working at YFM. We love your personality. Would you consider doing TV? I said, of course, guys. I've got the face, I've got the stomach for TV. Put me on TV. And so all of a sudden, in the space of 3 months, I had a radio show. I had 2 TV shows. I was traveling. I was now becoming a really big DJ. So I was going to all these different clubs, all these festivals, and I was making a lot of money, guys. So in a bad month, I was making around 35,000 Rand. Bad month. Good month, I'd be making around 70, 75, right? Because I've now got these multiple streams of income. So I was making money. And the first thing I did, guys, is I had to fetch a GTI. I had to buy a car. I didn't have a car at the time. And, my thinking was this, guys. I'm a student. I'm becoming a celebrity. You can't see me walking. No, you can't see me in a taxi. There's no ways. People need to know that I've made it, right? So the first thing that I did is I bought this car. This is the actual vehicle I bought, right? I sold it a couple of years ago. And to be quite honest with you guys, it was the biggest mistake that I ever did, right? I bought a car that I shouldn't have bought, and I bought it for all the wrong reasons. I bought it to prove a point. I didn't buy it because I needed it. I didn't buy it because I wanted, right? But I bought this vehicle. And about 6 months later, my boss at YFM said to me, Tepo, you're about to do a year at YFM, and there is a possibility that we might not give you a new contract. So at the beginning of my journey with YFM, I signed a contract. It's a 12-month contract. And every 12 months, they either renew the contract or they don't. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my contract at YFM is about to end. On TV and radio, I've also signed these contracts. What happens if these contracts end? Because I haven't done anything. I haven't saved. I haven't invested. I haven't budgeted. All I've done is I've bought this car. I've been this cool guy on campus. I'm traveling. I'm just blowing money. I have not saved a single thing. I've done nothing worthwhile with this money. The only thing I have is this car. And I'm like, what if I don't get a new contract? How am I going to pay for this car? Like, so many things are running through my mind. And I said to myself, if YFM gives me another contract, I'm going to do things differently. And thank goodness, YFM gave me a second contract. So I was working at YFM for my second year, and I said to myself, now that I'm making all of this money, I need to do something better with this money. So I then decided, let me pay for my university fees. Let me start saving. Let me start investing. But I was a bit intimidated because I'm like, I'm a student. Where do I save? Where do I invest? Who do I speak to? So I went to go see a financial advisor. And he basically said to me, Tsepo, if you really want to build a relationship with your money, you need to spend time doing research, read books, listen to podcasts, go to financial literacy events. Just get excited about your money, ask questions. And that's exactly what I did. And I became so interested and so fascinated that I fell in love with teaching young people about money. Because for all of us, it's so scary, it's so confusing. At home, we don't talk about money. Now all of a sudden I've got this allowance. What should I do? So I just fell in love with it. And while I was at YFM, I created a movement called Youth Money Circle. And the idea was to invite young people into a room to teach them about money. I had a DJ, I had popcorn, I had slush, but we would have fun, engaging conversations about money, how to save, how to invest, retirement, all of those things. And it's been an amazing success and journey. So these are actually events that I've hosted in Johannesburg. And you can see there's young people from different places that come and just want to learn about saving and investing. And it's given me a chance to work with all these different brands. I've worked with all the banks, all the insurers, all the different organizations, just because I wanted to learn a bit about money. And it did this beautiful thing for my life. So I'm very passionate about financial education. But as you would have heard, I've made a lot of mistakes with money. A lot of mistakes with money, right? And while I was learning about money, there's something that was bothering me, right? We've all heard that, and we've heard it from our grandparents, our friends, older people. We've always heard that it's good to save money. We've heard that we must invest. When you get your first salary, you must invest in property. We've heard that you must budget. We've heard that you mustn't live beyond your means. These are things that we've heard. Maybe we don't do them. Maybe we don't save, we don't invest. But we've always heard that these things are good to do, right? And if this is true, these things are so good, why don't we do them? Because earlier on, I showed you that slide that we don't save, we don't invest, we don't respect money. Why? Why don't we do it? And then I discovered, right? And I'm thinking, why don't we do it? And somebody last week, a few weeks ago, said to me, Tsepo, we don't save and invest because we don't have money. I then said to them, how do you explain this show? Right? If money is the problem, how do you explain the show? And I'm not putting this up to mock anybody. And if nobody's seen this show before, it's called I Blow It. And this is a show that documents people who have received a large sum of money and have basically blown it. But these individuals got more money and they didn't save. They got more money, they didn't invest. They got more money, they didn't budget. So, what is the reason that people get money and they don't save, they don't invest? I mean, if you look at the top right, there's a guy here who bought 6 cars, including an ambulance. Why would you buy an ambulance? Why? So, why don't we do the right things with money? And what I discovered is that human beings are complicated. And all of us, we've got a unique and different relationship with money. And this relationship that you have with money, what influences that relationship is your upbringing, it's your environment, it's your friends, it's your family, it's your level of education, it's your culture. All of these things, they shape the way in which you view money. They shape the way in which you utilize money. It made me realize that money is very psychological, right? And that ultimately, how we behave with money, it defines our relationship with money. So if you come from a household where we don't openly talk about money, money is a little bit of a secret. When you get a little bit older, you also start treating money like a secret, right? Some of us, we come from households where the only time we talk about money is the fact that we don't have it. That's the only time we talk about it, right? So money becomes this big secret. So your upbringing, your environment, your friends, your family, they all impact the way in which you handle money. So you can give one person 10,000 Rand, give another person 10,000 Rand. How they use the money is going to be different because we've got different relationships with money, right? And then I realized that behavior is actually the most important thing. So I'm going through this journey. I'm like, hey guys, I'm learning a lot of things. And then I come across this book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And it's got this really interesting quote that says, a genius who loses control of their emotions can be a financial disaster. So even if you've got an MBA, you are a CA, you are a doctor, you are a genius, if you cannot control your emotions, you're going to be a financial disaster. That's interesting. The book then further says the opposite is also true. Ordinary people can be wealthy if they have a handful of behavioral skills that have nothing to do with formal measures of intelligence. Hey, did you hear that English? So what is Morgan Housel saying here? When it comes to money, it's got nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. Everything with money has to do with how you behave, right? And there's a reason why I keep talking about behavior, right? So as I'm reading this book, I then discover another really interesting thing, right? The book basically says if you want to build a good relationship with money, it is 20% knowledge and 80% behavior. What do you do with the knowledge? So let me give you an example that has nothing to do with money. So let's just say tomorrow I decide as Temple, December's coming. I now want to have a summer body. I want to have a six pack, right? So I decide, okay, cool. I'm going to go see a dietitian. I go to the dietitian. The dietitian says, okay, Temple, here's a list of things that you shouldn't eat. And here's a list of all the good things that you need to eat, right? The fruits, the veggies, and all of that. Okay, thank you. She gives me the diet. I then go to the gym. I meet a personal trainer. The personal trainer says, okay, Tepo, I need you to come to the gym on Monday, on Friday, on Wednesday, at least for an hour. You need to run, you need to swim, you need to get onto the treadmill, all of these things. I say, okay, I'm going to do it. What determines if I'm actually going to lose weight is if I actually do these things, right? So I'm not going to lose weight if I'm still eating burgers and pizza and all of that. I'm not going to lose weight if I'm not going to the gym. So now the personal trainer is sending me messages on blue ticking, right? So all the information that the personal trainer has given me, all the information that the dietitian has given me, that is the knowledge. What determines if I lose weight is the behavior. What do I do with the knowledge? It's the exact same thing with money. The information is there. Save, invest, budget. But what you do with the information will determine if you have a good relationship with money. Yes or no? So the behavior aspect is the most important thing when it comes to money. It's the most important thing, right? And even when you get onto the Black Bullion platform, when you start going through some of our content, you will see that everything that has to do with money has to do with behavior. When we talk about saving, saving is a behavior. You are choosing to take some of your money and to put it away for a rainy day. When you invest, it is a behavior. You are choosing to take your money and to invest it into an asset that you think that asset will grow over time or pay you an income. Budgeting is a behavior. You are taking your money and you are creating a plan. Even a credit score is behavior. It's a three-digit number and it tells the bank the higher the number is, the more likelihood this person will pay us back. The lower that number is, the less likely you are to pay us back. So if you've got a high credit score, the bank is likely to borrow you money. The credit score is low, they're likely to not. What is it? It's behavior, right? So everything that has to do with money has to do with behavior. It is such an interesting thing, right? So then the question comes, okay, Tsapo, we've heard you. You're talking about behavior. What should you do with your first salary? So now you're an intern, or you've landed your first job, or you've become an entrepreneur and the business is doing well. What on earth should you be doing with your money? Right? That's what normally people ask. What should I be doing with my money? Number one, you need to make a plan for your money. My salary is coming in on the 25th. What am I going to do with this money? Right? You create a realistic budget and you stick to it. And I'll show you how you do that. But in other words, when your salary comes in, what are the priorities, the important things that you need to take care of with your salary? That's what you're basically looking at, right? So you're creating a plan for your money. It mustn't just come in and go out. What is the plan for when my money comes into my bank account? Number two, don't flex too hard. Don't flex too hard, guys. And don't allow emotions to take over, right? So you would have seen with me, money came in, I got excited. I ended up buying this vehicle. In all honesty, I didn't need it. I lived right there in Brom. What was I buying the car for? Because I can just walk to campus. Who was I buying this vehicle for? But I ended up committing myself financially to a vehicle because I was trying to prove a point. And most of the time, when we make financial mistakes, it's because we're allowing emotions to push us, right? So maybe you were feeling lazy, maybe you were feeling under pressure, maybe you were feeling in love, right? So a lot of the times when we make financial mistakes, there is an emotion that is there that is pushing us to do these things. So it's very important to just take a deep breath, right? The money is coming. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Maybe I want to reward myself. That's different, right? That's number two. Number three, avoid the lifestyle creep. So, what is the lifestyle creep? So, the lifestyle creep is when when you're starting to earn a salary, when you're starting to earn money, sometimes you start to adjust your lifestyle, right? So, the more money I make, the more things I acquire. Right. So now I've moved from an intern who's earning 5,000. Now I've landed the actual job. I'm earning 15,000. So now the clothes that I'm wearing is not good enough. Now the place that I'm staying at is too small. I need a bigger place. So the lifestyle creep is when you adjust your lifestyle because your money is increasing. Right. And here's the trick, guys. This is what I started to learn after I got my second year contract, right? I was making good money. So all my money increased because now I was working on a bigger rate, right? So I went from 8,000, I think I went to 13,000, and then all the TV shows gave me more money, right? So I was making more money, but I kept the same lifestyle. So because I'm making more money, I'm actually making a saving. So I'd move from making 30,000 rand to now making 40. That 10,000 rand, that's what I would use to save, to invest, to budget, to have fun, right? So I didn't change my lifestyle because my money changed. So sometimes the mistake that we make is now that I have a salary, I now have all these costs, all these bills, all these expenses that I've never had before, right? You've never had them before. Now all of a sudden you need to have them. So when before your salary comes in and it's in, just take a deep breath. You don't need to change everything all at one go. Take it easy, right? Number four, the other thing that will happen is you need to be aware of credit. So all of a sudden you're starting to get a salary. Now the bank is calling you, Mr. Kapane, would you like to get a credit card? Now Woolies is calling you, hey, would you like to get a store card? Now they're calling you, they're saying, hey, would you like to try and apply for a vehicle? So the moment you start to earn a salary, the banks will come. They will come and they will be offering you credit. Credit, guys, can be very, very important because if your behavior is wrong, you're going to have a problem. Going to have a huge, huge, huge problem, right? And remember that when you're having to pay this money back, it's with interest, right? So if you take a credit card, there's interest. If you take a personal loan, there's interest. If you're getting your first vehicle and you're getting it through financing, there's going to be a little bit of some interest. Also, it can impact on your credit score, right? So they'll come, the banks will come for you, right? The other thing that you really need to do is you need to be intentional with your money. So in that second year, I said to myself, what do I actually want to do with this money? And the first thing that I decided was this radio thing, it's not going to last forever. At some point in time, I'm not going to get a new contract. All of this is going to end. So let me put some money away so that when all of this ends, I've got a little bit of some savings. I've got some investments. I can go back to school. I can join a corporate company. It gives me options. So I decided I need to have an emergency fund. I started saving. I started investing. I became intentional with my money, right? And I think you guys need to do the same, right? Be intentional. What do you want to achieve with your salary? Maybe you're the first to graduate. You're the first to get a corporate job, right? What do you want to do with this money? Right? What do you want to achieve with this money? What are your plans? What are your goals? And they need to be reflected in the way that you spend money. So sometimes I'm in a session and somebody says to me, Tepo, I'm so keen to buy, I want to own my own home. And I say, is it reflected in the way that you spend money? Right? So be intentional with your money. Number six, you need to start saving and investing, right? And the first thing that you need to do is you need to have an emergency fund. Please, 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 when you start working, have an emergency fund. Things always go wrong. And you need to have this account that you can tap into so that you can cover emergencies, right? And when I talk about saving and investing, most of the time financial planners will say try and save 15% of your salary. Guys, 15% is a lot. I think when you're starting out, it's not so much. But if you've been working, 15% is a lot. So I'm saying just start saving, guys. Very few of us, we can't even save 50 Rand. We can't even save 10 Rand. We can't even save 30 Rand. Just start saving, start investing. Right now, you can buy shares from as little as 1 Rand. There's no more excuses, guys, right? But the first thing that you need to do is you need to start with an emergency fund. So emergency fund is an account that you can tap into when you've got an emergency. You put money into this account. You don't touch it unless there's an emergency. Very, very important. It's a must do, right? Number 7, you need to build up a good credit score, right? It's really, really important. But what I know is very few of us understand what a credit score is, and very few of us understand why do we even need it. So let's start with a credit score. And I like to make things very, very simple. So a credit score is a 3-digit number. And this 3-digit number tells the bank how you behave with money, right? So let's say, as an example, I've got 2 friends. I've got Tebogo and I've got Simpiwe. Tebogo is the kind of friend, if I borrow him money, he will pay it back to me on time, no problem. He won't make excuses. If he says he's going to pay me back next week, Tebogo will pay me back. Tebogo is the friend with the high credit score because he's shown in his behavior that if I borrow him money, he'll pay it back. Now, Simpiwe is the kind of friend, if I borrow him money, I may never see it again, guys. He ducks, he dives, he blue ticks me, he gives me excuses, he sends me the money in tips and drabs. He's just not a good person to borrow money, right? So Simpiwe is the friend with a low credit score because Simpiwe has shown in his actions that if you borrow Simpiwe money, he might not pay it back, right? So you get the difference between somebody with a high credit score and a low credit score. It's behavior. It shows the bank, if we borrow you money to buy this car, to buy this house, will you pay us back, right? So why does the credit score matter? That's the next question. Because even when you're on campus, you'll see them pushing you to get a store card. Why does it matter, right? So at some point in time, you guys will get your first salary, you'll start working, and then you'll decide, I want to buy my first vehicle, or want to buy my first apartment, or my first house, or I want to get a loan to start a business, whatever the case may be. You may not have the money in cash, right? Maybe let's say the vehicle is 500,000. So you'll need to borrow it, right? In order to borrow it, the bank will look at your credit score. So they'll look at your bank statement, they'll want your pay slip, and they'll also consider your credit score. And why they'll ask for your bank statement, surprise, surprise, behavior. They want to see when your salary comes in, how do you behave with money, right? So that's why the credit score is important. The next question becomes, okay, Tsepo, we understand what a credit score is. We understand why it's important. How do I increase or how do I decrease my credit score? Behavior. You do the right things. So what I did when I started working and I started to get a salary is I went and got a store card at Woolies, right? You can get a store card at Woolies. And so what I'd do is I'd go to Woolworths Foods, I'd buy a pie, I'd buy a juice, and then before month end, I'd pay back the card. So the card had 500 Rand, I'd pay back the card. Month 2, I did the same thing. I'd use the card, and then before month end, I'd pay the card back. So I was trying to show Woolworths that you guys can borrow me money and I can pay it back. And my credit score started to increase. But if you do the opposite, you borrow money, you're not paying it back, you've got 3 credit cards, your credit score starts to go low. And if you've got a good credit score, it's likely that the bank will give you the money that you're asking for. And if they do give you the money, they'll give you a good interest rate. They'll give you a low interest rate. If your credit score is bad, one, they may not give you the loan or the money that you're requesting. And if they do give you, the credit score will also be high. The other thing, which is really important, guys, there are certain jobs that require you to have a good credit score. If you've been blacklisted, some jobs are going to be problematic, particularly in the finance space. If you're looking for a job in a bank, it's one of the questions that they're going to ask you. Those that have been job hunting, you'll notice some jobs actually ask you whether you've been blacklisted or not. Put you on, guys. I'm going to put you on, guys. All right. So number 8, the next thing you should do, you need to have a learning spirit with money. Guys, we know everything about who's trending on TikTok, who did this, who cheated on who hit who did this on this TV show. We know everything about everything but we don't know enough about our money, right? We don't ask questions. We don't know anything about our money. We don't save, we don't invest. So you need to have a learning spirit. So when I was starting out, yes, it was scary, yes, it was confusing, but I said to myself, I want to better understand my money. So use free tools. You guys will get access to Black Bullion. It's absolutely free, you're not paying for it. Read books. There's a lot of local books. There's the likes of Warren Ingram, Nicolette Michelle. Buy their books, read their books, read about saving, about investing. There are TikTok influencers who talk about money. There are podcasts about money. There are people on social media. So the conversations around saving and investing and how to invest for 1 rand, all of it is out there. We just need to have a learning spirit to want to learn a bit more about some of these things. Then, number 9, you need to be patient and consistent, right? You need to be patient and consistent. You're not going to achieve everything you want with one salary. There is no ways, guys. So you need to plan things. You need to be patient. You need to be consistent. Maybe your plan is, I want to buy my first property. Then say, let me give myself 12 months. Let me save up. Let me build my credit score. Let me go and research. Let me go and ask. Let me go see, where do I buy my property from? Where can I spend some time? Be patient and consistent, right? Even when you're saving, it's patience and consistency, right? So really, really important thing. And then number 10, which is very, very important, ignore the noise and stick to your plan, right? So you've got a plan for your salary. Some people may be putting you under pressure to do this, to do that. They are pulling you from your plan. Ignore them. Ignore the noise. Have a strategy, have a plan for your money, right? So these are the 10 really, really important rules, the things that you need to do. Because if you can do all of these things right, it'll help you to avoid doing all the other things. It'll avoid you buying the car that you don't need, that you can't afford, right? Getting loans, getting many credit cards. It'll avoid all of that if you can stick to this plan, right? Plan for your money, have a realistic budget. Don't flex too hard, control your emotions, avoid the lifestyle creep. You don't have to change your whole life overnight because of one salary. Relax. Beware of credit. The banks will come, guys. They'll come with all these offerings. That credit card, you need to pay it back. It's not free money, right? You need to be intentional with your money. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do with your money? Start saving, start investing. There's no excuse, guys. You can have a stock fell, you can do a savings challenge, you can put money into a container. There's so many different ways to save. There is no excuse. You can now buy shares for 1 rand on your cell phone. There's no excuse, guys. Build up that emergency fund. Number 7, build up a good credit score, right? So if you go to your credit bureaus, Experian, those type of guys, credit, a clear score, all of those guys, go on there, register name, surname, email address, they want your address, they want your ID number. You'll be able to see what your credit score is. You get something called a credit report, and it'll show you where have you used credit before, right? So you need to start building a good credit score. Have a learning spirit, guys. Spend some time reading, watching, asking, going to places, get excited about your money, right? Be patient, be consistent. And then, most importantly, ignore the noise and stick to the plan. These are the things that you have to do with your first salary, right? And for me, it was number one. It was number one. If there's one thing that you absolutely have to do, guys, is you have to budget. That's the first thing. Even if you don't have a salary, if you've got an allowance, guys, the first thing you need to do is you need to budget. This is ultimately why most people get it wrong. You have to budget. Budgeting is a behavior, right? So your budget is your financial compass. Why do I say that? When you need to make a decision that involves money, who do you ask? You ask your budget. Budget, can we afford this thing? Yes or no? Budget, we want to do this thing. Can we do it? Yes or no? If you want to make a decision with money, your budget will tell you if you can do it or not. So what is the budget? Let's simplify it. The budget basically tracks how much money is coming in, your salary, how much money is going out, your expenses, and why. Why is it going there? Right? So on the Black Bullion platform, we've got a budgeting tool. You can create your own budget. It's really, really nice. But even your banks now, your banks have these budgeting tools. Maybe you old school like me, you have an Excel spreadsheet or you have a book where you write, this is my income. These are my priorities, the things that I need to take care of. Okay, I need to travel to work. I need to buy work clothes. I need to buy groceries. I need to pay for electricity, whatever the case may be. how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. It is really, really important. And I think most people don't want to budget because the budget will now show you where you're making your financial mistakes, right? So it's so funny. A student at UP said to me, last year when I was doing a session, that the reason why we don't like to budget as young people is a budget is like going to Checkers and bumping into your ex. I'm like, why would you say that? That doesn't make sense. Like, students say crazy things. And I said, what do you mean? They said to me, budgeting is a reminder of all of your financial mistakes. And I think that's true. Because if I had to ask each of us, please download your 3 month bank statement and highlight the expenses. Guys, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked at how much we waste money, right? So the budget is very simple. How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? And why? Why is it going there? Why is it going there? Right? We're becoming intentional with our money, right? We're going back, we're going back, we're going back. What did I say? Be intentional with your money, number 5, right? So, what will the budget help you to do? One, the budget will help you to prioritize your spending. What are the most important things that I need to take care of when my salary, when my allowance comes in? Number 2, the budget will help you to spread your money over the month because you're now creating a plan for this money. You're saying, money, when you come into my account, these are the things that I need you to do over the month. Number 3, it'll help you to identify where can I start cutting down, right? Because now that you know where all your expenses are, you can identify that these are the expenses that I can start to bring down, right? And ultimately, it's to get you into the habit where you are spending less than you earn. Very, very, very important, right? So ultimately, we want you to have a budget surplus. Let's say your salary is 10,000 Rand, but your expenses are 5,000, or your expenses are 4,000, or your expenses are 8,000. There is a savings that you're making. That's the money that you put into your savings account. That's the money that you invest. That's the money that you put into retirement. That's the money that you use to enjoy life because you've taken care of all the important things, the priorities, right? So going back very quickly, this is the plan. These are the things that you have to do with your money. Not the things that I was doing. If I go back, not all of this, not this mess that I was. This mess, this is the mess you must avoid. Don't flex. Don't let emotions drive you. Have a plan for your money. Credit is not free money. There's an interest. Just because you qualify doesn't mean you can afford, right? Have boundaries with friends, with family. Have those difficult conversations. Respect money. Treat money like a tool. Be intentional with the choices that you make with your money. So those are the good things that you need to do with your money. But the number one thing that you need to do is you have to budget. It is the most important thing. If you need to make a decision with money, this is where you go. Your budget will tell you whether you can or you cannot do it, right? So budgeting is very, very important. So before we get into a Q&A, please do rate this session for me. You can scan this QR code. It'll take you to a survey, fill in all the information. What did you enjoy about the session? What didn't you enjoy? What did you learn? What I'm going to do is tomorrow morning, I'll randomly go and give 3 people that have filled in the survey 3 Takealot vouchers. So I'll allocate 3 Takealot vouchers. Each voucher is $100, and I'll give those vouchers away. But it gives you an opportunity to tell me, what did you enjoy about the session? What didn't you enjoy about the session, right? So get onto there. And then this gives us an opportunity to do a Q&A. So I always leave enough time at the end to do a Q&A. The Q&A might be around the Black Bullion platform, and that might be around money. It might be around some of the decisions that I've made, but it gives you an opportunity to ask any money-related question that you have, or perhaps something that just doesn't quite make sense. So on the platform, there's a Q&A tab right at the top. Ask your questions. If you want to get into the chat, you can as well. I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice. I am a financial educator, so I can explain things in a very interesting way where it makes sense. And you're like, okay, so I get it. Like this idea of my friend Tebogo and Simpiwe, I get it. I've got a Simpiwe in my life. Just to better explain what that is all about. So if you do have a question specific, anything that has to do with money, this is the time to ask. And you guys will be very shocked. I did a session with ABSA employees 2 weeks ago. Guys, people that are old, that have been working for years, they still don't know anything about money. I thought people in the bank know everything. Hey, guys, you'll be shocked. the things we see. So ask any question that you definitely have, and I'll definitely answer for you. So there's a Q&A tab at the top, but you can also get into the chat. So I'm going to read one or two of them and do my best to try and answer them. So I saw MM. It's now quickly moved. I saw MM had a question around credit cards. Hi, is it advisable to get a credit card now in uni in order to start building your credit score, right? Also, what are the implications on your credit score on things like missing payments, for example, your clothing store card that you've opened, or falling behind on tuition, or getting blacklisted altogether? So, right. So the question around the credit card and building your credit score, right? So this is a really, really horrible answer, right? But in order to increase your credit score, you need to take credit. Strange, guys. In order to get your credit score going, you need to take credit. But if your behavior is wrong, you're going to have a problem with that credit card. So if you get a credit card for 1,000 Rand, in 10 minutes, that 1,000 Rand is going to be gone, right? So you need to ask yourself, why am I increasing my credit score right now? There has to be a reason. I'm planning on buying a car. I'm planning on getting a cell phone contract. I'm planning on getting my first property. Why do you want to increase your credit score? Number one. Number two, what can I do to increase it? So you can get a credit card. There's now student-specific credit cards. You can get a store card. But if your behavior is wrong, you're going to have a problem. So I knew my behavior was a problem. That's why I got the Woolies card with 500 Rand, because I knew that if I went crazy and I lost my mind at Woolies, I can pay back 500 Rand, right? So that's the reason that I went into it, right? Now, what's important about it? If you're missing payments, that means your behavior is bad. Your credit score goes down. It's behavior, guys, right? So if you're missing payments, Jim Company, all these guys, you're blue ticking them, you're saying, I'll see them when I start working. It's going to impact your credit score, and eventually you could be blacklisted. And that blacklisting means that for a period of time, you can't borrow money from anyone. Can't go to the bank and borrow money. You can't do any of those. You can't get a simple cell phone contract. Those things are really, really important. So as a uni student, there's no pressure to get your credit score going. Maybe when you start working, yes, but now, why do you have the store card? For what? Right? And if your behavior is wrong, you're going to have a big problem with it, right? So that's what I think you should do. Why do you want to get credit? Then you get your credit score up, but your behavior needs to match. And remember, if you have a clothing account, you have made a commitment. You have to pay that money back. If you don't, it's going to definitely negatively affect you. So these things are scary, but these things are really, really important, right? Really, really important. Somebody asking, Lutando, what are the platforms or channels that are easy to use for students to start investing? So, Lutando, there's many, many, many different platforms that you can utilize. Some of our banks have platforms. If an FNB client, there's FNB Invest. Standard Bank has its own. There's one called Easy Equities. That's the one that I'm a huge fan of. You can load it on your phone as an app. They've got a demo account. They've got a lot of education, where to invest, how much to invest, what companies to buy, and they'll allow you to buy shares for as little as 1 Rand. So on the Black Bullion platform, we do talk a bit about what is investing. Where do you invest? How do you invest? What are dividends? We break down all these complicated words. And if you are a first-time investor on Easy Equities, we will give you a free voucher for 50 Rand to start investing. Guaranteed, if you're a first-time Easy Equities investor, will help you out on your journey. So once you do register on the Black Bullion platform, we'll send you all the information. But Easy Equities, a lot of your banks have those platforms. I know there's a new one called Clarity by Investec as well. So there's so many of these places that you can start to invest. Vuyo, that investing is a big thing. Vuyo says, could you please give me more detail on investments? How do you go about it and how do you start? So Vuyo, it's very, very simple. You identify an asset and you are putting money into that asset in the hope that that asset will either grow in value or it'll pay you an income in time. So let's just say, let me just grab something here. Let's just say I'm going to start investing in wine. I'm taking my 500 Rand, I'm putting it in this wine because the hope is that in 5 years, this wine is not going to be 500, it's going to be 1,000 Rand, right? Or I can make an income from this wine. One of the two, or both, right? So if you invest in something like shares, you're hoping that the share will increase in value and that share will also give you dividends. So when you're a shareholder and the company is doing well, they pay you dividends, right? All of this we break down on the Black Bullion platform, right? But I love that you're excited, you're asking all these questions around investing. It is really, really important. Let me see if I can quickly squeeze in just one more before Mandy just, hey, he's not happy with me. Just one more. I can squeeze it quickly. Let me see if I can one more. All right, so here's one. My screen keeps going. Mr. Kololo says, is it necessary to budget even though you don't have any expenses? In a sense of still living under the roof of your parents, and the allowance you receive is for whatever you would like to use it for, unlike having to buy groceries every month. I get what you mean. The fact is, I don't have any expenses. What am I budgeting to? But budgeting is also a habit, right? So, as much as it's a behavior always leads to a habit. So, just create it. It doesn't have to have expenses, but it can have all the incomes. So, you might say, in my budget, some of the money goes to a savings account. In my budget, some of it goes into an investment account, right? So, it doesn't only have to be expenses, it can also be savings and investments. But I think just getting into the habit of budgeting is really, really important. So maybe you don't do a monthly budget, you do a weekly budget, right? So as a student during the week, you spend money. I mean, what are you eating? Or are you eating lunch? And most of the time, you guys don't want to cook, you want to buy the lunch, right? So you put your lunch money in the budget, right? You need to travel to university. So maybe use the taxi, maybe use the train. You put it in your, so it could be weekly, right? But just getting into the habit of just starting to build that budget, right? So I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. I have sent the slides through to Mandy and the team so that you guys get an opportunity to just go through it. It does have the QR code there. So definitely you guys will definitely get the QR code as well. And you can scan it at any point in time, but I will ask Mandy to share those slides with you. Mandy, to you and the team, I thank you so much for the opportunity. And I hope that everybody had a chance to just learn a bit about money and that it was fun and engaging. Hope you guys enjoyed that session.
So much, Tepu. It was really, really an informative session. So I've been working for a few years and I wish I knew this when I started. So I'm very glad that I had the privilege to attend. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being interactive and for asking your questions. You're more than welcome to let me know if you need anything else. And thank you. I just want to make sure quickly that there's no other questions. Okay, and thank you, Boitumelo and Nombulelu, for organizing this great event. I really think it's a good initiative. Yeah, and that's all from my side. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mindy.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, Nombulelu.